The euro strengthened this morning after some encouraging words from China on the EU's handling of the debt crisis. And for a better look at where the euro and other currencies are headed, we want to welcome Wells Fargo currency strategist Vassili Serebriakov. Vassili is a Bloomberg best overall forecaster for his long-term accuracy on the forex markets. Vassili, let's talk about what China can and cannot do in the currency markets. This morning, the euro popped after the statement from the Chinese vice premier that it's supportive of Europe's efforts to contain the sovereign debt crisis and that China has been active in that effort. Little in the way of specifics, but the euro has since given up some of those gains. So can China really not move this market that much?
Well, a couple of things. First, it's not the first time that China has spoken in support of the European region and the eurozone debt markets. And second, I think it's all very good to hear words of support from China, but the problem is the market is increasingly seeing it not as a liquidity problem, but really as a solvency problem. I don't think China can really address that by making statements.
You know, you might say, if you look at the currency markets, that over the past several weeks we've lived through a mini age of uncertainty. In the U.S., there was the big debate over what to do about tax cuts. That's been resolved. In Europe, there was a big debate about how to handle the European sovereign debt crisis, perhaps if not in the short run, in the medium term. Some of that was addressed last week at the EU leaders meeting. So is some of that uncertainty behind us as a result? Or
I think some of it is probably is behind us, but there's still a lot of uncertainty in front of us. And in terms of the details of the permanent crisis resolution mechanism, those still have to be worked out. I think, as long as there remains uncertainty about the role of the private investors and, whether the private investors will receive their money after some of the official funds that have been helping the European Union or the Eurozone, I think that uncertainty will continue to weigh on the euro.
And it may take weeks, if not months, before we actually get any answers on that front, correct?
That is probably the case.
Vassili, last time you were here about a month ago, you said that the euro would continue to trade on growth expectations. As people realized just what the impact of austerity was going to be, the euro would continue to trade lower. Shouldn't we have seen a more dramatic move in the euro, not so much because of that, but because the tax cut bill that we finally got here in the United States has improved growth prospects for the U.S. going into 2011?
I think that's very much going to be the trend in 2011. And in terms of the performance of the dollar, certainly the news on the growth front for the U.S. economy has been very positive. But let's not forget, some of the European growth numbers have been pretty good as well. Germany's IFO, for example, business confidence index is at an all-time high. So really, I think there is a case for a stronger dollar based on growth differentials and a weaker euro. But that's probably more of a gradual process. More of a steady decline in the euro rather than kind of a sharp fall.
Vassili, before you go, we need to talk about something that has really raised its head again in the last few days. Switzerland. Is anybody going to get punished for selling Euro Swiss?
Well, it's it's a trade that, if I may, eclipsed a lot of other trades recently. I think really the Switzerland looks very attractive on a relative basis at the time when the eurozone economy is really in trouble. In the short run, I think the Swiss franc can go higher. Longer run, I would agree with you. We're probably looking at a more vulnerable picture for that currency.
Is that a smart position to have heading into 2011, or if not, what's your best trade?
I think that's a smart position to have probably in the first quarter of 2011. I think that's probably a shorter-term trade. I think the dollar will do well against the major currencies, the euro, the yen, the British pound. And I think some of the emerging Asian currencies will do well again, such as the Indian rupee, for example. Tremendously strong growth, good interest rate prospects. I think those markets and those currencies will do well.
All right, Vassili, we love having you here in the Inside Track. Get some of your insights on the currency markets heading into 2011. Vassili Serebriakov, a Bloomberg best. He's a currency strategist at Wells Fargo.